On TV, an octopus finds a sunken Corona bottle half his size that perhaps a tourist tossed off a fishing boat. One leg circles the neck as though washing a pot, and then all 8 legs snake in, followed by the beak in the eye, closed, pushed through, and opened again. Only the mantle swings in the deep, like a seaweed bulb, like a heavy water balloon that in an instant collapses, its crumpled skin bulging against the rim as it threads through too. In a mess of twined legs, suction cups splayed, it lay still in its transparent cave, curled up in a bed of glass with walls to flex against. A bishop's been in the news lately for a hit and run, but he wasn't caught until the morning after, so no one knows if he was drunk. Now, as community service, he visits the sick and reads last rites. Strangers leave death threats on his answering machine. I read that theologians want the Pope to suspend limbo. Morgan says they want to suspend suspension. Babies not baptized are happy in limbo, the Pope's word, happy, as though an afterlife held out like a garment to slip one's arms into and wear. Perhaps it feels like floating, the seal of water around the circumference of the body, the Epsom salt claustrophobia of sensory deprivation, self-suspension that works only when one doesn't struggle, though you've never floated in the Dead Sea. Erin's interested in the ethics of space and protest. Sidewalks are private property in Las Vegas, she says, so striking casino workers have nowhere to stand. You say you've never given a description of the house. But if you're writing about a person, she says, you don't say they have 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Eventually you'll have to leave your house, Morgan says. He doesn't mean move, but write about something else. You say you've tried and failed, that your memories become a figment of itself, language rotting and synonyms dividing like cells. By self-same, you mean who's never met, and by decay, what's said out loud. By worlds, you mean realms. Soul, you mean clot, and clot, what's underfoot. The ineffable is the well-defined. Overlay is consecutive, and consecutive renters. Intersect means interlace. Fate means place. Invented, the finch, instinctive finch-ness. Abandoned, either transcended or trashed. By fear to house, and to house to reside. By you mean I. By him, you mean you. I think what's interesting, one thing that's interesting about Revenant to me is everything that's left out, which speaks as much to the project as everything that was included. And so with this next project, which is a book, a chapbook to be published by Morgan in Q Editions this spring, I wanted everything to go in. I sort of thought of it as my post-authenticity project. And I also want to say, you sort of met Morgan as a name that came up in Revenant, and just a really special thank you to sorry. You know, I cry a lot about things like this. Why am I surprised? But I mean, in addition to being, you know, the publisher of this project, he's just really been a supporter, and really, like I said, he's really kind of been the glue that's kept my artistic community together, and I'm just so thankful. And so that said, this project also are poems that connect. They also don't have titles, and they're also prose poems, which, you know, I said I wasn't going to do this to my friends who've only been to one poetry reading in their lives, but this is kind of what they look like, just big blocks of text. And I want to say that because a lot of people think of poems as based on a fragment in a line, and for me I don't know if it's the journalistic roots, but to me I wanted something, for whatever reason, I just keep writing like this. So these also don't have titles, and I'll read them together, and I think they're ideas that speak to each other as well. Lo siento, Mark. In the New Yorker or the Times, I forget which, paraphrased. Now that the city's become one gigantic mall. Remember when you said, "How do you move your hips like that?" I'll never forget it. Once, during sex, to be kinky, I said, the original Starbucks logo is a double-tailed mermaid spreading herself for sailors. There's sex everywhere in America but in sex. That's not my line. I'm paraphrasing, but I don't remember whom. I heard whom is a dying word. I copied Joan Didion. I titled a folder, Notes Toward ? And in it wrote, a sense that America is shattered. Walt Whitman's America. But the only death in this poem is abstract, and Walt Whitman's America is Barbara's shattered. Everything I have is somebody else's, even seeming to me today, the scent of acacia blossoms outside my back door, milk and honey. I tried to save the moth that fluttered against my bedroom ceiling all night before it started to die. I scooped it in my hands, but its commotion made them sweat, damaging its wings, and I dropped it, disenchanted, in some dried leaves in the corner of the porch. Good. Let it take its chances. At least my sweaters are safe. After I sent the email, I saw on the internet last-minute flights to Paris for $158. J'ai le reprends. Morgan translated that. I don't speak French. They say couples have on average 10 arguments that they'll never resolve. 1, whether having a lover who's not me constitutes cheating. A brown dove in the pine tree. On a post-it taped to my computer, I've written, wait for the wisest of all counselors, time. Some days I read it and think about you, and others about how the object falls as the last word in the sentence offset by a comma. For a week, I carried in my purse the transcript downloaded off the internet and authenticated with a stamp. Government Exhibit P20056T01-445-A. I couldn't stop thinking about the last no, how it's mispunctuated, ending that way. I forget who, but a Times critic wrote pejoratively about a poet for exhibiting infinite faith in language. Is the offense infinite or faith? I'm not seriously asking, just letting abstracts burn out like hot coals. My house, silent. In San Diego, over coffee, we talked about Nabokov's synesthesia, metaphor, and the brain's hardwiring. We used the buttery sun and discussed how sufferers are overwhelmed by malls. My teacher Frank didn't understand poets who wrote about malls, so I wrote about childhood and the ocean. When I told Morgan I wanted a monkey in this one, he said, what about the ape in 2001, A Space Odyssey, who throws up a bone? I thought he meant vomit. Wendy took a picture in Costa Rica of 3 monkey skulls lined up on a picnic table. The monkeys starved because too much rain caused the fruit to rot.